Well, let's see if we get anybody tonight. Maybe it will work better than this morning. We shall see, we shall see. Going to take a few minutes. Hello, hello. Good evening. Well, hello, Brandy. I knew that was you. Are you in your dungeon? Making wild drags? All my favorite people listening, Miss Brandy owns Montana Wild Drags. So go get yourself some wild drags. They're super cute. Okay, so it did not work this morning. I hope that you guys can hear me really well. But, you know, my husband went ice fishing. So I'm sitting here doing nothing in the recliner. You know, I got the little puppers. We got a little wiener dog. And she must sit on you. So we're just chilling. Well, hello, Miss Christina. Do you see my hooded sweatshirt? Yeah, because it's cold. And the fireplace? Yeah, because it's cold here. A pizza party? Fantastic. Well, they can still order wild drags. Hi, Jim. I tried this morning. Facebook does not like me for some reason at times, and so I gave up because I did not have time. So here we are again. So thank you for tuning in. Okay, I want to go over. Some of you may have heard it before. I'm going to do it again. I'm going to talk about what we did at Think Tank and how awesome that was. And that I was gone last week and I was in Louisiana at a sugarcane conference. So I got to see sugarcane. You know, it's just coming out of the ground. It's very small. But someday it would be cool to actually see sugarcane harvested. And I'm sure I can go back because all the nice people in Louisiana were super nice. I don't know. Maybe that's Southern nice. I'm not sure. But they were all wonderful. And they were all drinking. So they all loved me. But that was a super fun conference. And then we went to Think Tank. And then I was in Kansas Kansas has a women in agriculture event, which is actually a really cool event. So the lady that puts it on works at the extension office, but she said that whole event started from the fact that a lady in agriculture, her husband passed away, and she didn't know anything. She didn't know where the bills were. She didn't know who to talk to. She just didn't know anything. And so they thought, well, this is crazy if this is what's happening in the agriculture industry. And so they put on this really super nice event so that women can just learn about agriculture and get together and most likely probably learn in a safe environment, right? So it was really fun to visit with them and just empower women to be more vocal and be more involved in the finance side of it. Because I see it on this side too, that a lot of times women are managing the money, signing their life away, but they feel like they don't have a voice in what's being done and what's being purchased. So they know that we don't have money for a new tractor, but somebody's going to go out and buy a new tractor anyway. And not talk to the person that's taking care of the books. So we got to make sure that everybody involved is in on it, you know. Oh, Christina still? Hey, Brent. Minnesota's cold like us. You got your fireplace going too. So that was really fun. But here are some big takeaways. A lot of people are asking what we learned at Think Tank, what we went over. and I love it. Excuse the noise in the background. Just Haley getting some ice. Good afternoon, good evening, Ryan. Oh my gosh, I don't even know what time of day it is. Okay, so what we learned at Think Tank was we really talked about, in Nelson's book, he really talks about the seen and unseen. I do not address that as much in my book, and I probably should. But that was kind of the theme of the whole 2 days, was the unseen portion of everything. But there were a couple of takeaways from Think Tank that I really, really liked. One of them being, we had one speaker get on. One speaker began his presentation with, everything else you've heard before me is worthless. And everybody was like, well, that's not very nice. And he said, it's worthless unless you do something with it, which is so absolutely perfect, right? It doesn't matter in what aspect of our life. If we're learning something and we do nothing with it, it's absolutely pointless. If you read my book or you buy my book and you don't read my book, it's worthless. That information is not going to do any of us good. If you buy the policy and you don't keep it up, Nelson calls it use it or lose it. It's worthless because we don't know why we have it. We're not talking to Mary Jo. We're not practicing it. So many people have policies and they're not filling them up to their max amount that we set them up for. Many people have policies and they're not even borrowing against them. Or we're never going to ever pay it back and just use the loan and act like it's free money, right? And the whole point of the podcast is to make sure that you guys are keeping up on stuff. I don't do that podcast because I have all this time on my hands and I'm bored. I do it so that we are constantly educating you. And so I just absolutely loved it. The information is worthless unless you do something with it. Okay? The other thing that, let me look at my notes real quick. Other thing that was talked about is that premium is not the problem, it is the solution. So when a lot of people are saying, well, how much premium should I put in? It's too much, yada, yada, yada. We have to remember that premium is the solution. And I know that in my head, right? And we all fight that. How much should I put in? How much is too much? Is it, am I going to be insurance poor? We have to remember that we have access to that cash value. Yes, we have to pay that loan back, but it doesn't have to be paid back in a year. If you're using it for operating, you might want to pay it back in a year, but you don't have to pay it back in a year. If you use it for a vehicle, you don't have to pay it back in a year. But premium is the solution. If we don't put enough premium in, are we ever going to get to a point where we actually have our own banking system? Maybe not. If we're so scared to do it, we then don't have our own bank. I'm not saying go ahead and put, $100,000 in if you don't have the $100,000 to do it. But it's funny that so many people, and I am very conservative. I am super happy to have people start small policies. That is not a big deal to me. But how many people out there have one policy and we're not being an honest banker, and should we be starting another policy? How many people have policies and they're not even using the policy that they have, which means you're using a lot of cash if you don't have to go to the policy. And so we really want to be putting as much premium in as we can, and that is smart to do so we can build that banking system, we can create the generational wealth, all that good stuff. Another thing was talked about at Think Tank, which I think was awesome. My friend Jason Lowe was speaking about really and I think it was Jason, talking about what Nelson has written in the book, right? And if you haven't read Nelson's book, why? You can go to farmingwithoutthebank.com and you can grab Becoming Your Own Banker. But Jason was talking about The fact that so many people right now think the only time you should borrow money from the policy is if you are going to buy something that creates cash flow. Now, yes, that's awesome if you're going to use it for cash flow. But Nelson talked about in the book to buy cars with it, to buy your appliances with it, to buy all these other things with it that you would normally go to the bank for. And in today's world, what do we say? Well, the interest rate is cheaper at the bank. And I included will say that. And I included have a loan on a vehicle at the bank because it's cheaper. Why? So I had liquid money to buy land, right? That worked out for me. But I also have clients that take loans for their vehicles, take loans against their policy for their house. Why? Because they want control of that loan. They don't want to be indebted to a bank in any way, shape, or form. Is there anything wrong with that? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And so there's no one telling you that this is right or this is wrong. It's a matter of what are we wanting to do with that money. For me, I knew I could get a car loan. I knew it would be much easier than getting a land loan, than getting a vacation rental home, whatever. I knew that. But I also took a loan for my policy to buy a rental property. I could have went and mortgaged that, but it would have taken longer. I wouldn't have got that good of a deal. I wouldn't have rental income coming in that soon. And frankly, I just don't want a loan on the rental property. Now, I can talk to my colleagues and they're going to tell me I'm absolutely insane because they want the cash flow, right? They would want the liquid money to go buy more property and make more cash flow. I am willing to not do that and grow that whole side of everything slower. I know there's a cost to that, but at the end of the day, it's not just me making that decision, right? I'm okay with that because I just don't want to have all these bank loans. So that really, and then we talked about the unseen. So let me just touch on that for a little bit. George, you can go to farmingwithoutthebank.com, George, and you can get it there. So let's talk about the unseen. And that really is something that, and I've talked about it all week since I have been at Think Tank. And sometimes even I forget some of what Nelson is teaching us because maybe I don't have time to dive into the book and really review something as often as I would like to. This is why Think Tank is so awesome for me, is because I get to spend all this time with my colleagues. Okay, but the unseen. And I talked about this today when I was visiting with a new client. She called and said, Mary Jo, we just need to visit again. My husband is not on board with this. This is my money that I'm sticking in. He is all about rates of return. And what he is missing, well, he's missing a lot because he's never read the book. So she's really talking to somebody and arguing with somebody that has the arrival syndrome because he's never read the book. He doesn't listen to anything. It's just a matter of, oh my gosh, you found this crazy lady through a referral and you don't even know her and you're trusting her with your money. I get it. But what he's missing is the unseen. So many people have this life insurance policy and they want to compare it to a rate of return. I'm never going to compare it to a rate of return. It's not about the rate of return. It's about the fact that we have liquidity of our money. So we can borrow against it and buy a rental property and buy a vehicle and start a business. What is the rate of return on starting the business? What is the rate of return on a rental property? That is the unseen that Nelson is talking about, right? I bought a rental property. What is the unseen of that? What's my rate of return? Well, I don't know. I don't know yet, right? Because we just got this rental property. What is the value of it going to go up? Here's another example. I had $10,000 in my IRA when I quit doing the 401k thing, when I learned about infinite banking. I took that $10,000 and I turned it into the business I had today. That is how I started my business. Do you think a rate of return matters to me? I know. Not only did that $10,000 make me more income than any IRA ever would have, it provides death benefit for my family, and look at how many lives I have touched. We have sold over 16,000 books. I think we're about 16,000 books. No, maybe 12,000. Sorry, got a little high there. I think we're at about 12,000 books. 14, whatever. It's between 10 and 16. That is a lot of lives with $10,000. What is the unseen of that? That's huge. That's absolutely huge. And I'm just going to use Christina because Christina is on. And I hope you don't mind Christina. But Christina has vacation rentals in Branson, Missouri. So if you go to Branson, Missouri, make sure that you stay in her rental properties. But how many families is she touching that get to go on vacation because she has a rental property? What is the unseen of that, right? What is the unseen of us being able to use the money for operating and not have to go to the bank and not have that stress level that we have to pay the bank? We have a banker breathing down our neck. What is the unseen of that? We are missing out on a lot of those. That's a huge topic here. And I am so super glad that we covered that at Think Tank, because it was a piece that I was not even using, right? I knew it and I was explaining it, but I was not even explaining it the way I should have been explaining it. So when you are thinking about the policy, please stop thinking about rate of return. I frankly don't care about rate of return. What can you do with that money outside the policy that is going to make a bigger and better rate of return? Reduce stress, make more money, right? It's not all about a number. It's about what else can we do with it? How many people can we help with it? What if you donated it to or used it to start a nonprofit? How many people can you help with it? It's not always just one thing. And we get so caught up on how much can we make. We forget about what we can do. Who can we help? Where can we go? Is it going to help our quality of life with our family? All those good things. Okay, sorry for asking. If I fill out the policy, when can I borrow against it? George, that is a really good question. As soon as with the company that I use, you can borrow 7 to 10 days after your check clears. So you pay your premium, whatever portion of cash value is available, that is available to borrow against in 7 to 10 days. Okay, so that was, if you guys have questions, please feel free. This is called social media, right? It's social. I'm happy to be social. So let me know if you have questions. But that was really the big takeaway from Think Tank. And there was just a lot. It was fun to meet new people. It was fun to see there's a bunch of new agents in Arizona that I've gotten to know. And it's been super fun to just, you do it for so long. Like, it's kind of sad that I've become one of the old people in infinite banking, doing this 12 years, because it's an industry that's hard to survive in. I'm going to be honest. Life insurance is not an easy industry to survive in. Infinite banking is not an easy industry to teach because you have so many people that just don't get it, that just don't care. And so I'm sort of the veteran, one of the veterans. There are many that are longer than me. But it's so fun to see these new people coming in and just to see their energy. And remember back 12 years ago when I went to my first think tank and I didn't sleep the whole time. When I heard about the infinite banking concept, I don't think I slept for 6 months. And that is no lie. My mind was racing with the possibilities and the excitement. And the second year I went to think tank, it was the same way. I didn't sleep. It's just there's too many people to meet and too many things to talk about. And even in the day and a half that we were there, it was not enough time for me with all of my colleagues. And so I'm hoping that we make Think Tank longer, or a whole bunch of people stay an extra day, so that we can just visit, because it's so refreshing to have that community. And that is exactly why I have the Facebook page for all of our clients, to have a community that everybody that is a client of mine can go into and freely talk without getting their head whacked off by some crazy on social media telling them they don't know what they're doing, but the crazy keyboard warrior hasn't even read the book, doesn't even know anything, right? And so it's really nice to just kind of have that safe space, if you want to call it that, where you can get ideas from people and all that good stuff. So if you are a client, make sure you are in our private Facebook group so that you can talk to each other. And then you are welcome to talk to each other. It is a thing. Okay, what did I have for meetings this week? Let me go. I did not, obviously I was gone last week, so I don't have anything really to review from last week. But I did have some good meetings this week. So let me look at my notes here. Oh, this was such a fun meeting. So the first one I had was with a gal that has worked for a financial advisor for 20 years. That was fun. And she is like, kind of thought I was doing everything I was supposed to do. And we had a really nice conversation. She agreed that liquid money would be better because her mom lives on her mom and dad's farm. Her dad passed away, so her mom lives there. Well, no, her mom lives on her grandparents' farm. I'm sorry. And her dad passed away, so it's just her mom. And then she has an aunt that is living on the other portion. And they really are living in an area where vacation rentals, and it is a hot spot in the country to go. And they are, she's out of all the people involved in the family, she's really kind of the go-getter and saying, hey, what are we going to do with this land? Are we going to develop it? Are we going to farm it? Can we do some pumpkin patch stuff? Should we be doing storage units? Like, we just went over all kinds of ideas, and she was not, she just didn't really know where to begin. And so even though we didn't do a whole lot as far as where can her money go, because she's got some and she can start something small, it's a matter of the bigger part of our conversation was just trying to help her navigate. Where do I start? Who do I talk to? How do I buy this? Do I buy this land from my mom? Do I take this land from my mom? What does that look like with the sister? Like, we had a very, very long discussion because there is a lot going on in the family. Oh, almost spilled my water. There is a lot going on in the family as far as dynamics of what's happening. And that all had to be navigated. So a lot of times when I meet with people in our first meetings, obviously we're going to go over, or we're going to talk about your numbers and talk about where you can get started. But sometimes a lot of our conversation is just, where do I begin? And they don't know who else to go to. And I've got lots of ideas because I've talked to lots of people. So that was a really fun conversation. Plus, it was just fun to have somebody that worked for a financial advisor for 20 years. That is, I think that's fun. Okay. Next one. Was a young couple, and they just have really small acreage, and he was kind of, I think he kind of felt like, he didn't have enough and it didn't matter. And that is never the case. I don't care if you have 2 acres and a cow. Like, it doesn't matter to me. We got to start somewhere. I'm not going to laugh at you and be like, you're not really a farmer or rancher. We all got to start somewhere. And I'm not going to be here to be Judge Judy. But I don't remember what they had. They've got 10 acres. And they've got some ewes, and he has some Scottish Highlander cattle. which I know what they are, but I didn't know the technical name. I just think they're cute as all get out. So to me, they were cute cattle, but I didn't actually know the official name of them. Now I do. But this was interesting because they saved, the beef on them is really good. And so they're doing direct to consumer on that, as well as the ewes, and they're making money there, which is absolutely fantastic. But we really got into the hide part of it because he is really wanting to make sure that they are not throwing away any part of the animal that they can sell or reuse or what have you. And so we had a fun conversation about what to do with the hide of this Highlander. And I said, a lot of people are using that in purses. And of course, I am looking at these cool new, cowhide, custom leather purses and the price of them. And they're custom made. They're not something that you're going to have. There's not going to be more than one of them in most cases. And he was not familiar with this, which I would hope he's probably not looking for purses for himself, right? And so he was just amazed at what people are using cowhide for. And we actually found one website where there was a trunk, like in those old wood trunks that, they used in the military, like, I don't know when they used them. I have one too. I love them. And somebody recited that with cowhide and leather and just made it look super, super cool. So I'm like, there's a market for that. He's like, yeah, there's a guy locally that, I'm like, no, not the guy locally. Like, find the creative artist person that if you think you could get 1,000 for that cowhide, but they're going for 2,000 online, there's a reason. And his wife is quite crafty and artsy. And so I'm like, even if she uses it, what can she do with it that then she could make a product with it as well? And so it was really fun talking to him. They're going to be able to start something, but again, on a very small scale, just due to their finances and where they live and all that good stuff. But they're being very, very smart about starting. And it was super fun to talk about the abilities of what they can do with what they have. Because most people would do what? Oh, well, that's just a cowhide, no big deal. No, it's long-haired. How cool would that look on a purse? Like, now all you ladies, you know what I'm talking about. How they have all the tassels hanging off the sides of the purses now. How about we have some cowhide and the hair is hanging off the side of that purse instead of tassels, and have something custom and different? Cool, right? Or instead of using sheep on that sheepskin on that Harley seat, how about use something like this on the Harley seat? I don't know if it'd work. I just have all kinds of ideas. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But geez, open up your mind and think of all the possibilities. So that was a fun meeting. Then I had another one. These guys did not farm. They read Life Without the Bank, and they are real estate investors. So they have 260 units and 13 children. Yeah, they've adopted foster children, which is super fun. It was super fun to talk to them about their units and how they've, accumulated them, where they're at, how they're doing that, what the expenses are, all that good stuff. So that was fun. They have a son that is working hand in hand with them. So I said, your son needs to be insured. You need to insure him if something happens to you. And it was really something that they had not thought of, but they also were like, well, we have 13 kids, right? We have 2 or 3 other ones that are starting in the business as well. And so it's not that big of a deal. We're not going to necessarily lose help. Well, you might not lose help, but you just lost a child. So I want you all to think about that. If you lose a child, you're not going to get up tomorrow and be like, oh, well, so you know what? I'm just going to go back to work. Just keep running that business. lost a child. It's not that easy. And I'm talking a adult child that's 20 or late 20s. It is not that easy. And so the policy, the death benefit is also there. All right, sorry. My Wi-Fi is a little goofy. The policy is there to help you mourn, not just to pay bills and replace income. All right. Then I had another one. Mom and dad have land. They're getting some of the land, and the brother is getting some of the land. Dad really wants to make it fair or very equal that the brother gets the land, but the brother doesn't want anything to do with it. In fact, he's concerned what all these expenses are going to be if he gets it before mom and dad die. He does not want it. And he's not doing anything with it, yet the daughter is, and they're grazing cattle on it, and they're maintaining it. And dad is not looking at the sweat equity of that. So we had a very long conversation about equal isn't fair. Can we buy the brother out now? And if dad does give the brother his portion, will the brother just sell it to them now and owner finance them? Do mom and dad have long-term care? If they don't, what does that look like? Do we have to get all of it into a trust? And they were not aware of anything of what a trust was and all that stuff. So we had a long conversation just about that. Again, we got into the numbers, obviously, or the policy structure and how it would work for them. But we have to remember that if mom and dad are not protecting their ground from Medicaid, it is not the nursing home. I want you guys to start talking about that differently. The nursing home is not taking somebody's property. Medicaid is forcing the nursing home to do so, okay? So if they want to qualify for Medicaid, their land may be at risk. Well, we got to protect it. Is that going to be a trust? Are they going to sell it to us now? You need to talk to an attorney. You need to have those questions. And those were some things that the two people I talked to this week, nobody even thought of that. So something that you guys want to think about as well. And then I just had some other meetings this week with people that I've talked to before. And one of them said, it was 3 years I talked to him, 3 years ago. And he said, I finally just got past the fact that this is not about a rate of return. No, it's not about a rate of return. So we had a nice conversation about that. And then he did kind of get hung up in rate of return again. He also asked a very good question. Well, why would I work with you versus somebody else? Because apparently he's been talking to some other people. Well, I've been doing this for 12 years. I work with farmers. We talk about the whole entire family. I can tell you the conversation we're having right now is not a conversation you've had with anybody else you've talked to. You should be asking why. So if you want me to help, that is the benefit that you have with me there, is to help walk you through that, is to make sure that we are talking about the whole family, the transition of the family. Most people are not doing that, and that is a red flag. It is not just about you when you are farming or when you are in business with somebody or have kids that you might be passing a business off to. Then I had another nice young man that I talked to 2 years ago. Or a year ago. I don't remember. 1 or 2 years ago. And he too just had a lot of questions about, how do I take the loan? What does that look? How much cash value do I have? Should I do a policy on myself or should I do a policy on my wife? And just kind of touching base again. But for some people, it's just a matter of making sure that they're doing their due diligence. They're making sure that this is legit. They're talking to people, all that good stuff. The other kid that I talked to, and I'm going to call him a kid because he was younger than me, but he had a policy with another mutual company and it was not structured properly. He did not come to me right away. He read the book and went to his buddy who did it wrong. But he has a traditional whole life. He has good traditional whole life. And he really, for whatever reason, wants to cancel that policy. And I keep telling him no. I'm like, absolutely not. Why would you want to cancel it? No, it's not set up for banking today, but long term, it's going to be a good policy. So if you have a good whole life policy that is set up that all the money goes to death benefit, to the base of the policy, that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Keep it. It's just going to take a really long time to accumulate any kind of cash, but keep it. Okay, that is, I don't think anybody else commented that I'm seeing. That is all that I have tonight or today or over the last 2 weeks. I know I put 3,600 miles on my vehicle. It was a different hotel from Saturday to Saturday. So I was home Saturday night. So 6 different hotels every single night. I'm really good at packing and unpacking. Got its system down. Did not forget one single thing. I went with my friend and colleague Wade. We still like each other. We laughed a lot. And I know that the South does stuff a lot different than the North. It's a whole different speed down there. And I cannot tell you that I've ever been in a conference or a meeting where they're like, there's all the booze and there's the crown. And it was a good time. It was fun. They were a lively bunch. But so fun to just see the country and to see how, the South is just different than the North. It's not bad. It's not good. It's just different. It was funny. I just kind of felt like, oh my gosh, am I in the same country? Because I had never been down there before. Even in Kansas, I had never seen, the guy that I was with used to combine in Kansas. Wade did. And so I forget what he called it, but they have like tiers of ground because the ground is so sandy and it just runs. So they stair step it kind of. I have never seen that before. So when I travel, I really like to kind of, like, even when we went down to New Iberia, we went down through Branson. And so we went through Little Rock and we had some switchbacks and we were really off of the interstate. And it was fun to be able to just really see the country. When we went to Kansas, we had to do some back roads because we were in some tiny little town. And again, it was super fun to see the country and just to see how people farm and to see, I like to look at houses. And so to see how people live, and it was, how else are you going to do that? You don't do that in a plane. And I'm glad I didn't fly, because I swear to God, everybody I know had flights that were being canceled or rearranged or weather. We did see that too. We came through a lot of ice storms, which we don't get a lot of ice storms up here. It's pretty rare. We have a lot of freezing rain this year, even tonight, more freezing rain. But they don't break trees. And we came through Memphis. It had rained the night before, and lots of trees down, lots of power lines down, semis, cars, like people in the ditch everywhere. I suppose that happens when you have a higher population. But something that we just don't usually experience here. So it was fun. It was a good trip. So if you know anybody that is looking for speakers for their events, I am happy to speak. I came back and on Saturday and on Tuesday, I spoke for Mississippi. There was a organization in Mississippi that I spoke for that was doing solar energy type stuff. So that was fun as well. You are within an hour of my house. Hey, Ryan, so you could just come visit. Or if I'm within an hour of you, are you getting rain as well? I came home from town later this afternoon, and I was going to go back in, and I'm like, I'm not going anywhere. My windshield was covered in ice by the time I got home. So no thanks. I'm done. I'm pretty much done with this weather. It was nice last week to be in the 70s. All right, you guys, I don't have anything else, and it doesn't look like you have anything else. So I am going to sign off. Let me know, as usual, if you need anything. If you do need to grab a book, you can go to Farming Without the Bank. Oh, and if you are on TikTok, look me up, MJ Irmen on TikTok. But I have been doing a lot of TikToks as well. But you can follow me there and, help defend me against all the nasty people over there. Oof, are they mean. All right, you guys have a good weekend, next couple weeks, and we'll see you on the next live. Oh, an hour from Little Rock. Okay. We were going to go down straight, but I wanted to go through Branson and look at some rental properties there. And so we ended up through Little Rock. So I don't know what direction you are, but next time I'll let you know. All right. Have a good weekend.